Marika, thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure to have you on InFocus. So I just want to start off, you're an actress, a stunt performer, an influencer, an activist. I mean, is there anything you don't do? But, I mean, how did you get started in, I guess, all of it, but maybe just in each one, and did each one lead into another role, maybe?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to start by saying thank you so much for having me. It's truly an honor to be here. With acting, I have always wanted to be an actress ever since I was probably 5 years old and obsessed with Miss Congeniality. I probably watched that movie like 100 times, and still obsessed with Sandra Bullock. So that's how it started, and with stunt and special skills and stuff, that just came with the dance experience that I had through hoop dancing. And I just got curious about what else could I do, and how can this lead into my acting career. I'm always looking for avenues and ways to be a better actress and to be a better performer in general. So I just thought it would be amazing to be able to do stunts and special skills on top of the acting.
Well, it certainly is amazing. I mean, I don't know how you're able to do all of that. Just one is super interesting. But so here today we're talking and putting TikTok and social media and all of this in focus. So I wanted to ask you, why is it important to bring an Indigenous perspective to all of those platforms?
I think it's so important that we're a part of every conversation, whether it's about Indigenous matters or non-Indigenous matters. I think it's important that we have a voice in everything this country does, and in everything in general.
And you have almost 400,000 followers on TikTok, and I think it's over 500,000 across all social media. I mean, that's a lot of people. What does that mean to you to have that many people interested in what you're doing and what you have to say?
It means so much to me, and it feels surreal sometimes. I remember when I was first starting to grow my Instagram account, and I just thought, if I have 20,000 followers, then like my life will be complete. And I can't say that my life feels complete. I mean, everybody has their own things, but it's really nice to know that many people support me and my vision. It's been an amazing adventure trying to grow my social media, and I've always wanted a platform to be able to speak about important Indigenous rights issues, and social media is exactly that, and it's such a blessing.
So I'm really curious, like, was there a time you realized you were getting, really popular? Like, was there a huge boost in followers one day or overnight or something, or was it just more like a gradual sort of increase?
I think for a lot of influencers, it kind of happens overnight, but for me, it's been pretty steady, and yeah, it hasn't been like a huge boost overnight. I've had days where it's been better than others, of course. But yeah, it's and periods. Like, I would say about a year and a half ago, I was gaining followers quite quickly when I was using my voice to speak out about Indigenous rights issues. And yeah, it's great. I mean, I love what I do, and it's brought a lot of freedom into my life.
And just on, you speaking on some of these Indigenous rights issues, what sort of messages do you hope people take away when you speak out, or just from any of your posts in general?
Well, I had this realization a couple of years ago. I'm big into meditation and self-help and just health and wellness in general. And I was meditating this one day, and I realized that I believe that racism is a lack of compassion. And I believe that racism dies in the face of compassion. And I think that when we educate about important Indigenous rights issues, it helps build compassion amongst our nation. And I think it's an important step to get rid of racism.
And Marika, how do you deal with, you know, being on social media and having such a big following? I mean, not everything on there is super positive all the time. In fact, most of the time it seems like it's negative. So I just wanted to ask, like, how do you deal with that, and how do you sort of overcome some of those negative, or the negativity, really?
Well, I think that there's a positive and a negative side to anything. And early on, when I was really young, I dealt with a lot of bullying here in my hometown. And little did the bullies know is that they were prepping me to be the influencer that I am today. And it helped me build a lot of strength at an early age to know that people are always going to talk, and you might as well give them something good to talk about.
Well, and speaking of giving them something good to talk about, are there any videos on your TikTok account that stand out to you, or had the most reaction, or anything across your social media that maybe stands out to you?
It's interesting because most of my followers think it's actually the stunts and the special skills and the hoop dancing that gets the most attention. But what I think is great is the videos that do the best are actually about Indigenous rights issues.
And what are your plans for the future right now? What are you currently working on? Are you still working on your documentary? I remember you were working on a documentary. Is that still going on?
Yeah, so that's taken some time. I actually had to take a step back from it for a little bit because talking about it so much brought a lot up for myself, and it actually made me realize how much the residential school has affected me personally. My dad is a 13-year residential school survivor, and I, at the beginning of starting to produce this documentary, I had many producers telling me that I should make it as personal as I can, and that really that pressured me to make it more personal than I think I was ready for. And I had to take a step back from it for a little bit to do my own healing so that I'm able to take on something this size. And I'm really, really happy to be in that place finally and to be able to carry it forward. And so we just got a grant and we're script writing. We're starting that process. December 5th, I'll be in LA with the script writers. So I'm really excited about that. Excited to get it off my chest because it's been something that's been on my mind. And one thing that I realized through traveling so much is you can't run from your purpose. It's always going to be knocking at the door, and I want to take this on, and I want to do it the best that I possibly can, and I finally feel ready for that.
So what made you want to do this documentary, and can you share a little bit about what this is going to be about for our audience?
Yeah, so this documentary came from an idea that I had to make, just to do a small 5-minute video about what next and what can we do to move forward in a good way as a nation. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that this is a bigger question. It's a question that needs to be answered by the community. And so the documentary is based on what's next. What do we need to do as a nation to move forward in a good way? And so the premise is what's next on Canada's Red Path to Reconciliation. So Red Path is my company. We do youth empowerment programs and camps all across Canada. I named Red Path because of the Indigenous phrase, walking the red road, known as walking a path dedicated to sobriety, health, and wellness, and doing things in a good way. So that's what's really, really important for this documentary. And the first documentary we're doing under the Red Path name is to do this in a good way and to get as many Indigenous voices heard as possible.
Oh, that all sounds super awesome, Marika. And before we let you go, I wanted to ask, do you have any advice for people wanting to follow in your footsteps or get into acting or maybe stunt performing or anything like that? Do you have any advice?
Well, just like I said, people are always going to talk, so you might as well give them something good to talk about. one thing that I notice come up a lot for people that are wanting to step into the spotlight is fear of what people think. And you just got to do you. And the more you share yourself and the more you share your heart, I find the more comes back to me in life in general. And I think it's so important to share who you truly are. And if you're inspired to do that, then just do it and just get out there and don't quit, because it's easy to do something for 1 or 2 weeks, but to stick with something is true discipline. And that's what it takes to be the best at anything. And I'm not saying that I'm the best at anything, but to be to be in the conversation and to be doing the things that you want to do, you have to stick with it no matter what it is, whether it's a sport or whether it's acting. You just have to stick with it, and you're going to have down days, you're going to have disappointments, but what it takes is really sticking with something through it all.
Marika, those are great words. I think that's a great way to end our interview with you. So I want to say a big thank you, Miigwech, for coming on APTN InFocus and sharing a bit of what you do and your wisdom and knowledge. And we certainly wish you the best of luck in the future.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It's truly been an honor.